last week, they were completely rammed. They were filled up to the gunnels, they were queuing down the street. They said, you should have been here last week. I swear, you should have been here last week. Oh yeah, you should have been here last week.
Edinburgh, Scotland's capital. It has a parliament, it has a palace, which like the city will be lovely when it's finished. It has a castle, and a real castle. It has a beach, it has a mountain, Arthur's Seat. In the 20 occasions that I've come to this city, every time I make it a point not to climb Arthur's Seat. But this year was no different. And if you do make it to the top, it offers a fantastic view of the most expensive short-term accommodation in the UK. But most of all, Edinburgh is a flyering festival.
See, an obvious Edinburgh problem, a wet seat after a rain shower. How can you solve it? Quite easy. Take some flyers. Problem sorted.
The Fringe is at the end of the comedy year, where comics come to get examined and graded out of 5 stars. Anything could be a show in Edinburgh, and anyone can be and will be judged.
Hello and welcome to You Should Have Been Here Last Week, the podcast by myself and fellow comedian Paul Ricketts, in which we interview the movers, the shakers, and the promoters and the comedy business people behind all the shows and ask them for their point of view. Now, this week, we're interviewing one of the most established comedy promoters in Scotland, and also, the doyenne of Edinburgh promoters, the woman behind the Gilded Balloon Comedy Club, the one and only Karen Koren. And in this interview, we cover such topics as why is it so expensive to live at the Edinburgh Festival? What's the future of Scottish comedy and the Fringe in general? And, what was it like in the bad old days of 1992?
You know that sort of stuff. I don't, but, but I'm willing to hear it, willing to learn.
Yes. So here she is, Karen Koren. Our guest today on the podcast, you should have been here last week, is Karen Koren, one of the eminence grise of the Edinburgh Festival, and one of the major promoters, I think, in the whole of the country. First of all, Karen, welcome to the podcast. We sort of start by asking every guest, and it's quite a philosophical question, why did you get into promoting comedy?
Oh my God, you want my life story?
Yes.
Yes, well, let's start. No, I principally did it by accident because I wanted to have a laugh. I'd had quite not a hard life in comparison to many people, but, I hadn't found anything that I wanted to do. I brought up a son on my own, and, so most of the work I did was to bring him up. So I wanted to find something that I wanted to do. And I had friends who were involved in this new alternative comedy malarkey in the beginning of the 80s. And they were great. And they used to say to me, we need somewhere to perform in Edinburgh because, at the Edinburgh Festival, because there's nowhere that, there's not enough venues and blah, blah, in those days. And so I opened a venue, and that started. I mean, it's obviously a lot more complicated than that. But at first I did it part-time while I was still working at the Norwegian Consulate General. And,
that's a cracking job share, isn't it?
Yeah. I was secretary to the Norwegian Consul General, and it was a great job, but had no future, etc. And it was fine while I was bringing my son up, but I needed something for myself, and they persuaded me. And it started as a hobby, and I was just having a laugh and enjoying it, and in the first year or two, but then it became quite serious. And I started a thing called Late and Live, which was the only late night venue at the festival where comics could come and relax and perform. And it would start, well, in those days it was from midnight till 4, and then it developed into 1 till 5 in the morning. So it became a real a rite of passage for a comic to go through. I think you did it a few times.
I did it many times.
Yeah.
I actually did. There was some amazing. One of the best nights I ever saw there was Johnny Vegas. I think you were there, where he was in the guy was in the audience. He said, I love your shirt," and the guy had a frilly shirt on. And you know how big Johnny Vegas is. He goes, "Let's swap shirts," and the guy said, "No." You know what the audience is like there? Swap shirts. So they swap shirts. Johnny Vegas puts the shirt on. It doesn't fit him. Barely fits him. He goes, "I love this shirt." And the buttons came off. And it turns out the shirt was about 200 quid.
Oh, no.
The guy was going mad. No, Johnny Vegas gave him the money. He gave him the money. I said, "I'm sorry about that." He got the money out of his pocket and gave it. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
One of the things I loved about Late and Live was just stories. I mean, I can't remember that story. I probably was there. I mean, it's one of the things that I loved was just seeing things that you wouldn't see anywhere else. I mean, now there's so many late night shows and, and all that kind of thing. But then it was really, really the first, and that's what started it all. I mean, it was, I think it was 87 I started Late and Live, and the stand-ups were very male-oriented and etc.
Yes.
And the aggression of the sort of Late and Live was world-renowned. But I wanted to try and support women, and I'm so glad that women have come through now. But it's taken a long time. I mean, in those days there was maybe about a handful. Joe Band and Jenny Eclair was probably around, but you'll know Donna McPhail and
yeah,
it was just a handful. And now, and the women also ended up having to work against the men and be as aggressive as the men. And now they've come into their own, and they are themselves, which is great. So you'll understand that my side of comedy is pushing the performer and caring about the performer. It's not about the money. Otherwise,
yes.
Yeah.
And none of us is in it for the money, are we?
Well, I know a lot of people that are in it for the money. I mean, there's many agents that have made their companies great through the Edinburgh Festival.
That's true. I've got a big list of them here. No, sorry. I'm not going to name any names. I mean, so going on to the practicalities of it, I mean, I know that you sort of said why you did it and how you went about it. I mean, have you got any tips for people, for fellow promoters or people just thinking of starting out on that road? What are the do's and the don'ts?
Yeah, I suppose I was just going to say the other thing that I did in 88 was I started So You Think You're Funny, which is a stand-up comedy competition, and it's still going after all these years. And the number and that competition gives new comedians, because they've only been working for a year, give them that little leg up and that little confidence, So and we're very proud that it's managed to go for so long. I'm on the 6th heat today. No, the 5th.
Oh my
heat.
God.
And we've got another 2 tonight and the next night, and then the big final week on Thursday. So that's great. I mean, so what I have to do is, with the judges, we have to go and speak to all the contestants after they've done to try and advise them about how their performance went and not what their future is, but because as far as stand-up's concerned, there's more than ever. We had over 500 applications this year.
Wow,
more than ever coming through. So there is definitely an industry, a future going forward. But for them, it's about keeping on gigging and keeping on working and keeping on writing and being different. As far as promoting's concerned, it's hard. I mean, now with social media, for example, TikTok has taken over, and all these performers think they're going to be huge. Well, they are huge stars through TikTok, but all they've got is about 5 minutes of material, and for them to go from that to the stage, however, if you are friends with a TikTok and you sensation, if you like, you can try promoting them and see how you get on. The thing is, it's the same. It's the same as it was in the early days. I mean, the performer has got to be good, and people have got to want to come and see them. So it's about where you promote. That you go to a venue that actually attracts audiences. If you go to a little village theatre, it's not always that you can do it. But I mean, we have had all year round venues. We lost our small venue during COVID. So now we're touring again, mainly during the year. And it's great actually, because the venues around Scotland, there's a huge appetite for people coming out. And I've forgotten your question. You want me to give you tips?
I'll just go to another question, which says, what do you think? What's your view on where comedy is going? You've already slightly touched on it with the TikTok thing. It just strikes me, by the way, what you said about them only having like 2 or 3 minutes on TikTok, and then it's that kind of thing that used to happen in the old days, where someone was funny in a pub, and all their mates would go, "You're really funny, you are. You should go on." And then, of course, the leap from that, and then you'd see where people had the metal to do it, and then you'd see people just went, "Oh, whoa, it's not for me." And there are instances of TikToky people being confronted with a live audience and finding it a bit out of their comfort zone.
Well, that's the whole thing with So You Think You're Funny, for example. The people that go in for that is people that their mum and dads and their best pals have said, exactly what you're saying. You're really funny. You should go on stage. But without the best people that go into it are people that are already talking to, like, teachers or doctors or, lawyers. And, but if your advice from your mum and dad and friends is not always the right advice for going on stage. And our criteria for comedians is originality. Well, be funny, and be funny right away. I mean, stories are all well and good. And, so many people talk about their mental health and everything these days. And we've all had, in the past, I mean, it's the subjects they talk about, that is, and you hear so many comedians talking about the same subjects, and it's about originality and being different that makes
That's very true. Yeah. And
anyone can be a promoter, anyone, but they have to believe in the person they're promoting and encourage them and, go to the right places. I mean, I don't understand TikTok. I don't even know what to press to see it.
Unfortunately, I have to. But
have you?
Yeah.
Well,
everyone's doing it.
We've got a Scottish performer called Paul Black, and I think it was about 4 years ago, it was during COVID, or just towards the end of COVID, and we could only do outdoor theatre, and we did an outdoor theatre during the festival. And he was a TikTok sensation, and literally he had not gone on stage before, and he sold out within minutes. And we put him on. And he did great, because his I was talking to him last night, because we've put him on for 7 nights at the Gilded Balloon. And he said that time was the first time he'd gone on stage. And I watched his show last night, and it was really good. So obviously there are people, but his kind of TikTok was not just one, they do loads and loads and loads of them. And, he's a writer, and he's a stand-up, but he's getting to be a stand-up. But I mean, I was impressed, but it's like people going into Love Island or doing reality TV. They're not all going to win, and not all going to be stars, But that wanting fame is not dying at all, is it?
No, but it's wanting a certain type. It's wanting any type of fame, as in you. I mean, I always get a bit depressed when people, say that I want to be a television presenter. Just first and foremost, I thought, well, don't you actually love what you're doing? And for certain people, it's a means to an end, which is quite sad. I think you've got to love it. And I still get as much pleasure from doing it and watching it. Every show that I go to, I get there early so I can see the rest of the people on the bill, because I still love comedy, and it's the best art form in the world, I think.
That is absolutely brilliant, and you don't get bored with them all talking about the same subject.
Well,
that I'll tell you, that is an art form in itself. Is curating a stand-up show, because curating my daughter Katie is now my partner in the business, and she of course knows all the younger ones, and I only know the old ones. So that's not true. But I still do all the programming. But as far as curating, like Late and Live, she does Late and Live, and she did a brilliant thing, because as I said, it used to be 1 till 5, and and it was late and it was live. So it was comedy for about 2 hours, and then it was a live band. And that's how we did it. But now times have changed, and Katie would say to me, people, they're too busy on their phones, or they're drunk. They can't sustain that listening or watching comedy at that late at night. So she moved it till 11:30, which I was upset about. But, I said, okay. And she made all the compares women. And I thought, what, that has changed it. We are full every night just now. And of course, put men on, men are there. It's not, I'm not, women are great, but the compare, the women compare, they fool around a bit and everything, but the aggression isn't as there, they're not as, yes, they get heckled as well, but they make a much nicer atmosphere in the room. And the day of the 90s, and Ross Noble and this is what happens to me. I can't remember any of them. Oh, I do remember you all, but it's in my head.
It's all right. We're the same. No. But you've already answered that question in a way. I mean, I think that given the social media thing, is probably going to be the future. But also, I don't think, we talked about the Johnny Vegas moments. Live comedy will never die, I don't think. Oh
no, absolutely. I completely agree with you. And live performance in any art form, what upsets me about what's going on just now is that, I sit up in the balcony and watch people going in and sitting and watching comedy, and half of them look at their phones halfway through, or they cannot put the phones away. And I want people to just be, if you go to a comedy show and you forget about the time and it just goes like that, that's what it's about. And it's about going on a journey, whether it's story. How live comedy has developed over the years, and you've seen it, how it was all very political and everything back in the 80s. And then people like Ross Noble and Phil Kay and all these people, they sort of made it a wee bit more flowery and, imaginative, and it opened the doors for so many different people. Yeah. So, and as you say, it is a brilliant art form. It's just that theatre still has a little bit of there you go. Mark Thomas has just won a Fringe, and there is a snob in it, that theatre, Yeah,
theatre, darling. How do you see the future of the Fringe itself? How much it actually costs performers to be up there, and specifically accommodation as well, which is, it's incredible, huge expense. How do you see the future of the Fringe in the next, say, 10 years?
Well, how long is a piece of string?
That long.
Put it this way, I've survived with the Gilded Balloon 38 years, and it's not been easy financially, absolutely not, because I'm mid-scale. I'm not I'm not the Pleasance, and I'm not Assembly, and I'm certainly not Underbelly. And it is getting absolutely more and more difficult, not just for the artists coming up, but also for us, because we pay proper wages. We don't do volunteers, no volunteers, everybody's paid. And also all the suppliers have all gone up. So the future is a huge question mark. The Fringe Society themselves have now become quite an entity. You know, they are there as, they're not our figureheads. They should be there to sell tickets and promote our shows, and they are now a big brand. You know,
right,
we are the curators, but we are not the ones that can actually get any public funding. We did luckily get funding during COVID to survive. That funding obviously is over now, so it's about how we can continue to survive. I think that certainly the council in Edinburgh and the government, Scottish government, know that the festivals in Edinburgh, and there's about 12 of them, are very important to the local economy, and therefore they know that they have to support us and help. So I actually think in today's date, I would say the future is very bright, because Edinburgh is absolutely full of people. It is so busy. I've never seen it so busy since 2019.
Wow, so that's good.
Yes, and that makes it very positive. And if it's like that, surely the government and everything will make sure that none of the smaller venues will die. But you know, we have to see. I mean, we live on a knife edge every day, Katie and I, you know, and it's terrible to say because we have budgets and everything. I don't sit there crossing my fingers every day, but I kind of do, you know. But it's about, because there's so much, the commercialization of the Edinburgh Fringe came in the noughties after my terrible fire in the Cowgate.
Yes, yeah.
And you know, I moved up to TV, and it became, and with the big four, you know, and they are businessmen that come into Edinburgh and, you know, make their money and go away again. Katie and I live and work in Edinburgh and love it. And we love what we do, and we absolutely love promoting comedy, and we will continue to do it, but we might be doing it on a smaller scale than...
From a bus stop.
Yeah.
I hope not.
It's hilarious, and it's not hilarious, it's absolutely wonderful, but Katie had a baby 4 weeks ago. So I am back. I have now regressed 10 years, and I am up at that venue all the time.
Oh God, yeah.
But Katie has done such a good. She is the future of the Gilded Balloon, and she's doing such a great job. And we will continue to promote and support comedians going forward.
Great. I think that's a great place to wrap up. I'd like to say thanks very much, Karen. You said about it flying by, it's just flown. It's been very, very interesting. Well, thank you very much, Karen Koren. That was, you should have been here last week. Thank you very much. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
So that was Karen Koren. Very interesting interview. Fun enough, you'll notice that I wasn't on it, but I did listen to it because I was in Edinburgh, actually at the Fringe, and was staying in a student hotel where I had enough internet to actually record it, but not to be part of it. Particularly terrible place for internet, even phone signal. I mean, it is a very hilly city. It's got the Seven Hills, true, like Rome.
Shit broadband to go with the shit app, apparently.
Yeah.
But, which isn't working properly, apparently, and is telling people that their shows are not available to book when they actually are available to book.
You could say that the app has got a sense of taste, couldn't you? The app is just saying, well, do you really want to watch that?
So what was it like? Did you enjoy Edinburgh? Did you enjoy the festival?
I was supposed to go up and meet and talk to lots of other promoters, but basically, I just got drunk and did lots of gigs. One of the amazing things about Edinburgh is that you pretty much lose weight, and you think, well, how's this happen? And the reason you do this is the walking.
It's walking uphill, isn't it?
Because now I know. Now I know. Because of the elevation, my phone that tracks my steps, I was doing up to 30,000 steps a day.
Wow, that's good.
And the elevation was saying, you've gone up 40 flights of stairs. No, I haven't. I just walked up one road.
That's the other thing with Edinburgh. It's got some fantastic pubs.
Yeah.
And it's only £9 a pint during the festival, isn't it? So
I mean, that's the thing. The food is terrible. And you think, how can I survive on 7 pints a day and 2 battered sausages? But somehow...
But you can.
You do. Well, the comedy lexicon word of the day is Edinburgh Act.
To what could that be referring?
To an act that only really is considered to be good when doing an Edinburgh show. So they can do 50-minute hours, but they can't seem to do 20 minutes or even 15 minutes or 10 minutes. It has to be the long format narrative show, which is what they're good at. And there's certain people who I think that's totally reasonable because when they do Edinburgh shows, they touch subjects that you can't really deal with in a 20-minute set, and they do it really well.
But
other acts who I think, well, no, I think Edinburgh acts are a bit kinder. Edinburgh audiences are a bit kinder. And basically, you're just as bad as when you do 20 minutes, but it's longer and it's all about you. And people accept that in Edinburgh, and they wouldn't accept that in other places.
We've talked about this many times before, about the snobbery involved in the Edinburgh Festival and the idea that an Edinburgh act, you're not a proper comedian with capital letters until you've done the Edinburgh Festival. And if you don't do the Edinburgh Festival, you're not considered to be a real comedian by certain people. And there's a big divide, isn't there? Because certain Edinburgh acts look down their noses at people that earn their living from comedy. And we've both been trapped in dressing rooms with people just going, I can't play this audience. Oh, it's not my kind of audience. And I'm thinking, what human beings?
In Edinburgh, of course, you've got a show with a poster and a flyer and a submission into a programme that you paid hundreds of pounds for. And that should mean that you get an audience that wants to see you and that show. But of course, we know that's not always the case, that anyone might turn up.
Yeah, it could be raining.
Yeah. Sudden downpour. Everyone runs into your show. You think,
I've cracked it.
Yeah.
I mean, the same thing happened to me in 2017. I had a flyer doing my flyering, and it was just for one day, and he was really good. But he was only about 17 or 18. And my show was about trains and railway. And, it was quite a political show about the railways. We got all these they were all posh rugby playing, and they all wore their collars up. And I sold out packed, but it was a fucking awful show.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to be there. He persuaded them to go, and they just didn't want to listen, And all I could hear was at the back, and I thought, oh, God. And I wish he hadn't brought them in, but it does happen. It does happen.
My partner, this happened last week, that someone went up to her and said, would you like to see some fantastic comedy? I can tell by your eyes that you're a fan. And she took the flyer, and I said, you're not going to go to that show, are you? Because that was the slimiest bit of flyering I've ever seen. And she goes, she said, well, he's quite a nice chap. So she went, and I said, look, I'm not going. You go and tell me what it was like. And she came back, and it was apparently it was a bloke who was claiming to be autistic, even though he admitted halfway through that it was a self-diagnosis. There was 2 women in the audience, just my partner and another woman who obviously had lovely eyes. At one point he goes, so what do you think about feminism? And one woman started saying, well, I think, and then he just went, shut up.
Oh, brilliant.
And there was no jokes in it. It was just...
No, that's funny.
A 50-minute rant about this man's sad life. Shows get sold as comedy, And a lot of the times, they're nowhere near that.
They're a form of therapy, aren't they?
Yeah.
But going back to the term Edinburgh Act, I don't want to, come across as too antagonistic. I think you touched on it. It's that thing of, I don't like snobbery in comedy. And like if people just go, comedy is this, and they define it as this. I only like surreal whimsy. That's it. And all other comedy is shit.
Yeah.
And I just think it's self-defeating, isn't it? It's like, it's stupid. There should be ways for the two types of comedy to coexist without them sort of looking down on what they consider to be, the drones of the circuit.
Even within the circuit, there's lots of different styles. But every time anyone fights with a particular style and says, well, that's proper comedy, I tend to go, no, it isn't. You can't say that. It's just for you. You think that's proper comedy. Doesn't mean it has to be for everybody else.
And there's also that whole thing, we've all done that, where you've got bits that are in a longer show for Edinburgh, and you think, when you go back on the circuit, you think, oh, this has been stonking it. I'm going to do the Edinburgh bit. And they're just received with fucking tumbleweed.
Or even worse, when people then go back to the circuit and go, well, I was in Edinburgh a couple of weeks ago, and the audience do not care.
No, they don't give a shit, do they?
No, they don't. I've reached the end of this particular episode, and I've always got to remember to say all these different things at the end of the show. One, of course, which is thank you for listening or watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you have, then definitely click on a like. And if you've got any comments and suggestions of people you'd like us to interview or subjects you'd like us to discuss, put that in the comments. And if you're listening to this in a podcast, then tell other people about it. Is there anything else I should be saying at the end?
Tell your friends about it.
Yeah.
Tell your friends, acquaintances, close relatives.
Anybody. Just random people.
Yeah, just tell a stranger on the street.
Yeah, as you commute into work. Just go, you should have been here last week. Just say that to people.
This train was packed last week.
So yeah, that's a good enough way to finish it. That's be the end of our Edinburgh series, and we'll be talking to just general purpose promoters in the next one, and we'll see you then.
Woohoo!
They said you should have been here last week.